In an Excel workbook file on one sheet, we have a table. Next sheet, we have another table. Third sheet, we have yet another table. And our goal is to combine them all into one table. So do we use Excel Worksheet VSTACK or Power Query Excel.CurrentWorkbook? The decision whether to use one or the other is pretty easy. We use the new VSTACK array function when we want the resultant table to have data from existing tables, and we want our solution here to update instantly when we change data in the existing tables. We use Power Query Excel.CurrentWorkbook when we want our solution to incorporate new tables that are added. Now, Power Query requires a refresh. Let's see how to do both. We're going to start with VSTACK. Now, I'm shooting this on March 19th. Currently, this is in beta, but Microsoft says within a few months, this should be in all of Microsoft 365. Now, VSTACK will just take some arrays and stack them up vertically. In our case, we're going to have field names and then append each one of the tables one below the other. So I go over to Sales 1, and I can see up in the formula bar, I'm going to select the field names. That'll be the first array. I type comma, and then the upper left corner, when I see my diagonal black arrow, I click, and that puts in just the table name. Those are all of the records from this Excel table object. Comma, next table, comma, final table. And now when I hit Enter, the appended table spills into the worksheet. And it's awesome. Here's Sales 1, Quad 43. We can see that right here. We're going to add a new record, Carlota 34. And when we come back over here, there's our new record. Now, if we add a new table, this solution will not incorporate that new table. Now let's see how to do this with Power Query. We go up to Data, Get and Transform, Get Data dropdown, Other Sources, and all the way down to Blank Query. Now, I do this a lot, so I right-click and Add to Quick Access Toolbar. So I already have my button up here. I'm going to click. I'm going to name this query. And I named it All Tables in Workbook File because that's what it'll do. Every time we add an Excel table to this workbook, it'll keep updating. Up in the formula bar equals Excel.CurrentWorkbook. And you got to spell it right, and the case has to be correct. Open, close parentheses. Hit Enter. Now we're given a table, and in the content column, that actually contains all the tables. The name column contains the name for the table object. Notice we have our 3 Excel tables, but those arrays came in also. So we're going to have to filter the name column to include just the sales tables. And so the pattern we're going to use is I want to keep whatever the row is when the name starts with sales. So let's use a regular filter feature, text filters, and begins with. Now we're going to type sales, and we're going to be very careful to spell everything correctly, including the S on the end and capital S to begin it. And when we add new tables, we'll always start our table name with capital S, lowercase ales. Now when I click OK, now we have filtered out and have only the table objects, 1, 2, 3 sales tables, that we want to append. Now when we add steps in Power Query, they're added to the applied steps list. Here, filtered rows was added. And source, that was our very first step. Now filtered rows, let's select that. And there's a big caveat when you use Excel.CurrentWorkbook. We already added a filter so that any Excel table that we import has to start with sales. But if you didn't do that, you would have to worry about this query name here, because the final result, Power Query loads it to the Excel worksheet as an Excel table, and that's the name. If we refresh later, it'll try to import the table with this name. So if you don't have some filter like this, you need to add a filter that says not equal to whatever the query name is. Now for us, we don't have to worry about that because we already added an appropriate filter. Now if we click off to the side of the word table, you can actually see a preview down here of each one of the tables. So this column is the one where we're going to click this expand button to append the tables. Now if we leave this field here, when we append, whatever name is here will be repeated in every row of the table. Now sometimes that's exactly what you want, like if this was the city name for a store. But here we don't need this column, so we're going to remove it. Select the content field, right-click, remove other columns. That adds a new step. Now we can expand. These are the fields that we want. We want to uncheck Use Original Column as Prefix because I don't want the word content to precede these field names. Now when I click OK, those tables are appended. There's our new step. Now in Power Query, you have to make sure and add data types. This is text. This is a number field. So we click the ABC 1, 2, 3, and from the dropdown, we're going to select decimal number. That adds a data type. Over here, we're going to select text. There's our new step. Now we're done with our query. We have a good name. We come up to the Home Ribbon tab, Close. The Close and Load dropdown, Close and Load to. I want it as a table on the existing sheet. That's fine. Click OK. Now, just to illustrate, I'm going to take this whole sheet, and when I copy it over, and here's a great trick. This is how to copy a sheet. I'm holding the Control key, and then I'm going to click and drag up. You can see the piece of paper means a worksheet. The plus means I'm copying it. And that arrow means, hey, where do you want to drop it? I'm going to drop it right there. But when I drop it, I'm going to let go of my mouse, not the Control key. So I let go of my mouse. I'm going to call this 4. We must rename our table. Table, over to Properties. And we want to name this Sales 4. And Enter. Now we come over. And did this update? No, it didn't. But right-click, refresh. And there we have all 4 tables. So I don't know. This is pretty amazing to me. It's brand new. And if we have existing tables and we're not going to add a table later, and we definitely want records to update instantly as we type them in, that's a beautiful solution. If we're going to add new tables later, then we got to use Power Query. All right, if you like that video, be sure to click that thumbs up and leave a comment. Let us know what you think. And, of course, sub, because there's always lots more videos to come from Excel is Fun. All right, we'll see you next video.